The letter didn't ask. It didn't explain. It demanded. And the amount at the bottom made my stomach drop. $300. Due immediately. For using my own road. I was standing at the edge of it when I read the notice. Boots on fresh gravel, morning air still cool, the sun barely cresting the tree line. A road I'd spent months planning. Weeks grading. Thousands of dollars paying for out of pocket. Built entirely on land I owned outright. No easements. No shared access. No HOA involvement. Or so I thought. The envelope had arrived that morning, slid neatly into my mailbox like it belonged there. Crisp. Official. Embossed with an HOA logo I'd never respected but never truly feared, until now. I'd expected maybe a newsletter. A reminder about trash bins. Something annoying but harmless. Instead, the headline screamed Unauthorized Infrastructure Use Fee Assessment. My coffee went untouched. The letter claimed the gravel road I'd just completed was now classified as a private access route benefiting HOA-adjacent properties. And because of that, I was being charged a usage fee. Per month. I laughed at first. A short, disbelieving sound. The kind you make when something is so ridiculous your brain hasn't caught up yet. Then I kept reading. According to the HOA president, yes, an actual HOA Karen, the road connected to their development. That connection, they argued, gave them authority. Authority. Over land they didn't own. Over a road they didn't build. Over a property I'd worked my entire life to buy. I folded the letter slowly and looked down the road again. It cut cleanly through my acreage. From the county road straight to my workshop and home site. No branches. No spurs. No connection points to the HOA's neighborhood. Unless, I felt it before I saw it. That uneasy realization that someone had done something behind my back. I walked the length of the road, gravel crunching under my boots, heart beating harder with every step. And then, near the far edge of my property, just beyond a line of trees, there it was. A freshly installed reflector post. Bright. New. Pointed directly toward the HOA subdivision fence. Someone had placed it. Recently. I stared at it, anger rising in my chest like heat. They hadn't asked permission. They hadn't notified me. They just decided. Decided my road was theirs to benefit from. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Good morning, a woman's voice said, cheerful in that fake, polished way. This is Karen Whitmore, HOA president. I'm calling to confirm you received our assessment notice. I clenched my jaw. Yes, I said. I received it. Wonderful, she replied. Then you understand the fee is non-negotiable. We expect compliance by the end of the week. Non-negotiable. I looked back at the road. At the land. At the quiet I'd built this place for. You don't have authority over my property, I said. She chuckled. Oh, she said lightly. We'll see about that. And that's when I realized this wasn't about money. It was about control. And she had no idea how badly she'd underestimated me. I didn't argue with her on the phone. That's the mistake they expect you to make. Instead, I asked one simple question. Can you email me the legal basis for this fee? There was a pause. Just long enough to be interesting. Our bylaws cover it, Karen said. Smooth. Confident. Any infrastructure that benefits the HOA is subject to assessment. Benefits. That word again. I'll look for the email, I said, and hung up before she could say anything else. I stood there for a moment, listening to the wind move through the trees. Because deep down I already knew something wasn't right. HOAs thrive on people not knowing the difference between confidence and authority. I went inside and pulled up the county record. Property lines. Plats. Easements. Everything. My land was clean. No shared access. No recorded rights of way. No HOA fingers anywhere near it. But then I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. A pending request. Filed 2 weeks earlier. The HOA had submitted paperwork to the county to recognize my road as a shared access route. Not approved. Not recorded. Just requested. They were charging me before they had permission. I felt that familiar mix of anger and clarity. The kind where emotion sharpens your thinking instead of clouding it. This wasn't enforcement. This was a test. I printed everything. Screenshot. Map. Filing dates. Then I drove down to the far end of my property again. And that's when I saw them. 2 men in reflective vests standing near the fence line. Measuring tape out. Clipboard in hand. On my land. I pulled my truck up and stepped out. "Can I help you?" I asked. They jumped. Clearly not expecting the owner. "We're with the HOA," one of them said quickly. "Just documenting access points." "On whose authority?" He hesitated. "Board approval," he said. I pointed to the gravel under his boots. "This is private property," I said. "You are trespassing." They looked at each other. The second guy muttered, "Karen said it was fine." Of course she did. I told them to leave. Firm. Calm. No shouting. They did, but not before taking one last measurement and snapping a photo. That's when I knew this wasn't stopping with a fee. They were building a paper trail. One that would eventually say my road wasn't really mine anymore. That night an email arrived. From Karen. Attached, a PDF of HOA bylaws. Highlighted sections. Bolded phrases. None of them actually gave her the authority she claimed, but she clearly thought they did. At the bottom was a note. Failure to comply may result in legal action and additional penalties. Penalties. I leaned back in my chair and smiled. Because now, she'd crossed the line. Threats turn disagreements into cases. And cases are where HOAs lose. I replied with one sentence. "Please provide the recorded easement granting your HOA access to my road." 3 minutes later, my phone rang. She didn't sound cheerful this time. "This doesn't need to get complicated," she said tightly. I looked at the stack of printed records beside me. "Oh," I replied. "It already is. And I was just getting started." Karen didn't answer my email. That told me everything. Instead, I woke up the next morning to something far louder than silence. A notice staked into the gravel at the entrance of my road. Bright orange. Laminated. Official looking in that fake, HOA way. Private road, HOA access authorized. I just stood there, staring at it. They hadn't waited. They hadn't asked. They'd declared. My road. Rebranded overnight. That's when the anger finally hit. Not explosive, not loud. Cold. Focused. The kind that turns into action. I pulled the stake out of the ground and laid it flat in the bed of my truck. Evidence. Then I did what HOAs never expect. I called the county. 2 hours later, I was sitting across from a planning official with maps spread across the desk. She traced the property lines with her finger, then looked up at me. "There is no easement here," she said plainly. "None recorded. None pending approval." I slid the photo of the sign across the desk. Her expression hardened. "They cannot do this," she said. "This is misrepresentation." That word felt good. I asked what my options were. She leaned back slightly. "You can file a formal objection to their request," she said. "And you can also file a complaint for unauthorized signage and access claims." Unauthorized. Another good word. I filed both. That afternoon, I contacted a local property attorney. I didn't even have to finish the story before he interrupted me. "Let me guess," he said. "They're charging a fee on land they don't control." "Yes." He laughed. Not kindly. "I see this weekly," he said. "And they almost always overreach." He told me to stop communicating with the HOA directly. Let everything go through him. So I did. 2 days later, Karen emailed again. This time, the tone had shifted. "We've received notice of your complaint," she wrote. "We'd like to resolve this amicably." Amicably. Funny how that word appears after paperwork gets involved. My attorney replied with a single attachment. A cease and desist letter. It cited statutes, county codes, case law. All the things HOAs hate because they can't vote them away. Within an hour, my phone rang. I didn't answer. Then it rang again. And again. Voicemails piled up. Karen's voice cracked somewhere between the second and third message. "This is getting out of hand," she said. "We were just trying to ensure fair usage." Fair. I checked my email. Another message had come in from the county. HOA request denied. Just like that. No easement. No access rights. No authority. But HOAs don't like losing quietly. That evening, headlights appeared at the end of my road. 3 cars. HOA board members. Stepping out like they own the place. And in that moment, I realized this was about to stop being paperwork and start being personal. They didn't knock. They never do. They stood at the edge of my gravel road like a firing squad, 3 board members, arms crossed, expressions tight with that familiar HOA confidence that comes from thinking rules replace law. Karen stepped forward. "This is escalating unnecessarily," she said, loud enough for the others to hear. "We came to talk." "You came onto my property," I replied. Again. She waved a hand dismissively. "We're within our rights." That sentence was doing a lot of imaginary work. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just held up my phone and pressed record. That changed everything. Karen stiffened. "You can't record us." "I can," I said. "I'm on my land." One of the board members, a man with a smug half-smile, stepped closer. "You built that road knowing it would benefit our community," he said. "You can't block progress." Progress. Another favorite HOA word. "My road doesn't touch your development," I said. "You added a reflector post without permission. That's trespass." Karen's voice sharpened. "That post establishes intent." I almost laughed. "Instead," I said, "intent doesn't create property rights." The man scoffed. "You think you're smarter than the board?" I paused. Let the silence stretch. "No," I said calmly. "I think I'm better documented." Karen's jaw tightened. "We can impose fines," she snapped. "Daily. Retroactively." There it was. The threat. And that's when I pulled out the second envelope. Not from the HOA. From my attorney. I handed it to her. She took it reluctantly. Opened it. Scanned the first paragraph. Her face changed. Color drained. Eyes narrowed. Breathing shifted. The cease and desist wasn't a suggestion. It demanded immediate removal of signage. Immediate cessation of claims. Immediate acknowledgement of no authority. And then it listed consequences. She looked up at me. "You didn't have to involve lawyers," she said quietly. "Yes," I replied. "I did." The smug board member leaned in to read over her shoulder. Then he went silent too. Because buried halfway down the page was something they hadn't anticipated. A notice of intent to seek damages. For harassment. For trespass. For attempted misrepresentation of property right. Karen folded the letter slowly. "We'll take this back to the board," she said. "Good," I replied. "Because the county already did." Her head snapped up. "What do you mean?" I smiled. "Their request was denied. Officially." That's when panic crept in. Not loud. Not dramatic. Subtle. Karen glanced at the other board members. They suddenly looked less sure. Less powerful. "We're leaving," she said. They turned and walked back toward their cars. But before Karen got in, she stopped. "This isn't over," she said. I nodded. "You're right," I said. "It isn't." Because what they didn't know yet was that their attempted fee had triggered something far bigger than a complaint. It had triggered an audit. The audit didn't come from me. That's the part that shook them. It came from the county, 3 days after the cease and desist was filed. A routine review, they called it. But nothing about it felt routine once it started pulling threads. Threads HOAs really don't like pulled. I found out when Karen left a voicemail at 7:12 a.m. Her voice was tight. Controlled. Too controlled. "We need to discuss your road," she said. Immediately. I didn't call back. Instead, I checked my email. There it was. A notice from the county planning office confirming they were reviewing all HOA submitted access requests for the past 5 years. Not just mine. All of them. That's when the scope hit me. If they were bold enough to charge me $300 for using my own road, how many others had they quietly bullied into paying? Later that afternoon, I ran into my neighbor, an older man who lived closer to the HOA boundary. He nodded toward my road. "Did they finally get you too?" he asked. That sentence stopped me cold. "What do you mean?" He sighed. "They tried telling me my driveway counted as shared infrastructure a couple years back," he said. "I paid just to make them go away." I felt my jaw tighten. "How much?" "Couple $100 a month," he said. "Didn't want trouble." There it was. The pattern. I asked around. Quietly. Discreetly. 2 more people. Same story. Different wording. Same pressure. Pay or else. The county audit moved fast after that. Inspectors showed up. Requests were cross-checked. Signage photographed. Emails subpoenaed. Karen didn't call anymore. Instead, my attorney did. "They're panicking," he said. "The board approved fees without authority. Multiple times." I asked what that meant. "It means exposure," he said. "Financial, legal, personal." That night, the HOA sent out a community-wide email. Subject line: Temporary suspension of infrastructure assessment. Temporary. I laughed out loud. Because when HOAs say temporary, it usually means we got caught. The next morning, I found something else at the entrance to my road. Not a sign. An apology letter. Unsigned. Slid under a rock like a peace offering from someone too afraid to knock. It promised reimbursement, reconsideration, cooperation, no admission of fault. I forwarded it to my attorney. He replied with 2 words. Not enough. And that's when Karen finally showed up alone. No board. No clipboard. Just her. Standing at the edge of my road. Waiting. She looked different without the entourage. No clipboard. No board members. No confidence armor. Just Karen, standing at the edge of the road like someone about to step into traffic and hoping it stops for her. "I want to resolve this," she said. I didn't invite her in. "Then start by telling the truth," I replied. She exhaled slowly. "The board believed the road could eventually serve as secondary access," she said. "Emergency use. Future development. Believed. Assumed. Decided. All without permission," I said. She nodded once. Small. Reluctant. "The fee wasn't meant to be punitive," she added. "Just standard." "Standard theft," I said. She flinched. "I can recommend a reversal," she said quickly. "Refunds. Waived assessments. We'll remove any claims to your road." I looked down the gravel, sunlight catching in the stones. "That doesn't undo what you already did," I said. "Or what you did to others." Her eyes dropped. "The audit is serious," she admitted. "They're asking about past assessment. About authority." I let that hang. "Why did you really push this?" I asked. She hesitated. Then spoke. "The HOA's budget was short," she said quietly. "Maintenance cost. Legal reserve. We needed new revenue." There it was. Not community. Not safety. Money. "You targeted what you thought was an easy win," I said. She didn't deny it. "I can help fix this," she said. "If you drop the complaint." I shook my head. "I didn't start this," I said. "I just refused to pay." She looked up, eyes pleading now. "Please," she said. "This could get very bad." I met her gaze. "It already is." I told her what I wanted. Full removal of any HOA claims. Written acknowledgement filed with the county. Reimbursement to every resident improperly charged. And my legal fees covered. She swallowed hard. "That would bankrupt us," she said. "Then you should have stayed on your side of the fence," I replied. She stepped back slowly. "We'll need a board vote." "You already had one," I said. "And it wasn't legal." She left without another word. That night, I received an email blast from the HOA. Emergency meeting. Mandatory attendance. And buried in the agenda? A single-line item. Road access liability. I smiled. Because when HOAs schedule emergency meetings, it means the collapse has started. The emergency HOA meeting didn't happen at the clubhouse. It happened online. That told me everything. When HOAs know they're about to get exposed, they hide behind mute buttons and cameras turned off. I logged in early. Didn't speak. Just watched. Faces popped onto the screen one by one. Board members tense, eyes darting, voices careful. Karen sat front and center, posture rigid, smile completely gone. She called the meeting to order. "We're here to discuss recent developments," she said. Recent developments. That's HOA language for "we messed up." The attorney appeared next. Clean suit. Flat expression. No patience for nonsense. "I'll be direct," he said. "The HOA does not have legal authority over the private road in question. No spin. No qualifiers. Just truth." A murmur rippled through the participants. He continued. "Furthermore, prior assessments tied to unverified infrastructure access may expose the HOA to liability." May expose. That was generous. Karen cleared her throat. "We believed we were acting in the community's best interest." The attorney didn't look at her. "Belief is not a legal standard." Silence. Then the vote. Motion to withdraw all claims to the road. Unanimous. Motion to reimburse affected homeowners. Passed. Motion to cover my legal fees. Long pause. Then passed. Karen stared at her screen like it had betrayed her. The attorney wrapped it up. "I strongly recommend updating bylaws to prevent this from happening again." And just like that, it was over. No gavel slam. No dramatic exit. Just a quiet, irreversible loss of power. The next morning, the reflector post was gone. The orange notice never returned. A week later, reimbursement checks started arriving in mailboxes, including mine. I didn't cash it. I framed it. Because it wasn't about the money. It was about something HOAs forget too easily. You can't vote your way into ownership. You can't fine your way into authority. And you definitely can't bully someone who's willing to read the law. My road is still there. Solid. Quiet. Mine. And the HOA? They added a new rule. No infrastructure claims without recorded easement verification. Funny how rules appear when the wrong person says no. So if you're dealing with an HOA Karen who thinks confidence equals control, remember this. Sometimes all it takes to blow them up legally is refusing to pay for what already belongs to you.